stars were quiet, too quiet for this side of the galaxy. In the far reaches beyond the Andromeda boundary, a deep space observatory named Lunar Echo Station 9 floated in perfect stillness, orbiting a cold, forgotten moon. Its system scanned the cosmos day and night, hunting for anomalies, signals, or anything that didn't belong. For years, nothing strange had arrived. No distress calls, no alien broadcasts, only whispers of static and the soundless drift of dust. Then, at 3:47 Standard Time, the silence was shattered by a single word: help. It was not a radio signal. It was older, deeper, transmitted through compressed quantum entanglement, the kind reserved only for emergencies. The voice was faint, cracked with emotion, barely audible. It repeated the word once more, and then the message started over, with new words each time, as if struggling to form sentences or memories. There, it's gone. They forget. Then they're gone. I'm the last. Don't let it remember me. Earth, please, remember me. The message looped 4 times before going dark. The observatory's AI flagged it as a Class 9 anomaly, the highest threat level. It was immediately routed to Earth's deep black command under the Deathworlder. Protocol. Within 30 minutes, the president had been awakened. Within 1 hour, General Elias Rains was back in command. The signal wasn't just strange, it was terrifying, because according to the transmission log, the voice came from a star system that no longer existed on any modern map. The coordinates pointed to Sector D40, an empty stretch of space that had once held 5 thriving alien civilizations. All 5 gone, not destroyed, not decayed, just forgotten. At the command center on Earth's orbiting fortress Aegis Spire, Rains watched the looping transmission. He stood tall, a man carved from war and regret, eyes locked on the trembling voice that somehow felt human. Even though the system's last known population was entirely alien, the voice had an unmistakable Terran accent told Earth, deep Midwest. That made no sense. Earth hadn't sent a single human into that sector for over 100 years. This voice, Rains muttered, and it sounds like one of ours. Beside him, Dr. Era Moon, the lead xenocognitive interpreter, adjusted her Neuralink headset. Eyes fluttering behind closed lids, her breath hitched. It's scared, she whispered. Not just frightened, terrified. It knows something is coming. Something that doesn't just destroy Bodice, it erases identity. General Rains turned to the tactical board as red pulses blinked across multiple sectors. Strange voids were appearing, sections of mapped space vanishing from memory, as if wiped clean by an unseen hand. Whole fleets forgotten, colonies removed from records, even data logs auto-deleting without user input. AYRA said it softly. It's feeding. On what? Rains asked. She looked at him with haunted eyes. On who we are. The Deathworlder. Protocol was activated that hour. Earth's most feared armada, kept in silence for decades, was brought back online. Massive cruisers like the ECS Archangel, ECS Valorborn, and X-Phantom Light powered up in their dry docks, their cores surging with graviton drive pulses. Soldiers genetically enhanced for war, veterans from death planets, mercenaries trained to survive black holes, all were recalled. These were not just warriors. These were Deathworlders, humans molded by the most dangerous environments in the galaxy. They weren't just tough, they were terrifying. And now, they were angry. The signal had done more than call for help. It had reached Earth. It had touched something deep and ancient in human DNA, the part that remembered loss. Even if the name was gone, the part that refused to let pain vanish. AYRA leaned close to Rains, said, "Don't let it remember." Me, that's not fear of being forgotten. It's fear of being re-added to something, reabsorbed, like its memory is. Dangerous. Del Corin, chief tech navigator, joined them from the war room. We've tracked the signal's origin, or tried to, but the system is unstable. The coordinates are shifting. Time and space are folding around it like it's being deliberately buried. By what?
How?
He hesitated. A conscious presence. Something that doesn't want to be found but left the signal as bait. Or maybe a warning. General Rains didn't blink. Then we answer it. With the full fleet era flinched. If you take that many ships into something like this, we don't take half measures, Rains cut in. Earth doesn't run when the galaxy begs. We respond. With fire, the fleet launched within hours. Over 30 warships, hundreds of drop units, advanced AI-piloted scouts. But at the center of it all was the ECS Archangel, carrying the beacon. Strange device not built, but discovered, deep beneath Antarctica decades ago, sealed by unknown hands. It reacted only to memory patterns, and some believed it was a weapon against the void. Others feared it was an invitation. As the fleet left the Sol system, Ara sat alone in the Archangel's observation dome, watching Earth fade behind her. She held a photo one that shouldn't have existed. A little girl, brown eyes, smiling. But Ara had no children, had never had a family. Yet the photo was warm in her hands, real, and the girl's name burned in her mind like truth. Kara. She whispered, and then the name was gone. Just like that, she stared at the photo. It was blank now, a piece of paper. No image, no ink. No proof. But her heart still ached. Something was already reaching through. Space. Something that didn't just erase what you loved. It made you forget that you ever loved at all. The silence in deep space wasn't peaceful anymore. It was watching as Earth's Deathworlder armada roared across the black. The universe itself felt like it was holding its breath. 37 warships, armed with graviton hammers, mind disruptors, and soul-burn weaponry cut through the darkness like blades. Their destination, the dead sector, where the strange message had originated, a forgotten region now blinking. Red on every sensor. They weren't going for answers. They were going to remind the galaxy why Earth was feared inside the ECS Archangel. General Rains stood in the command bridge, surrounded by glass panels that showed every ship in formation. Each vessel trailed behind him like wolves in the void. His face was cold, unreadable. Not because he wasn't afraid, but because he'd been to hell before. He knew what happened when you flinched first. Delcorin, the fleet's senior tech strategist, adjusted his neural visor and watched the scanners. Sir, gravitic readings are becoming unstable near the signal zone. It's like the laws of physics are shifting. Aramoon stood nearby, her hands trembling just slightly. Time is bending. Memory fields are leaking into the physical layer. I've never seen this before. We're flying into something that thinks. Rains didn't look at them. He stared into the starless patch ahead. Then we better think. Harder outside, the Deathworlder fleet restructured. Fighters moved into hunter packs. Capital ships shifted into energy dispersal formations. It wasn't just a tactic hit, it was muscle memory. These were Deathworlders. Some had been born under constant storm winds. Some had survived war on planets with no oxygen. Some, like the infamous recon unit Red 12, were raised in gravity zones. Strong enough to crush tanks. Earth didn't send diplomats, it sent monsters. They reached the edge of the dead system 12 hours later. There was no star, just a faint blue. Shimmer like a candle in a jar of ink. The system should have had 5 planets. It now had none. Not even debris. Not even dust. Just nothing. Space, empty and silent, but still wrong. When in that wrongness, the signal repeated, "Don't let it remember me." Era winced as it echoed through the ship's speakers. Voices deteriorating, like it's forgetting itself while speaking. Dell pulled up a secondary scan. There's something here. Structure. Hidden inside a memory phase cloak. Not metal, not rock, just ... thought. Rains frowned. You're saying there's a building made of memory? Yes, sir, but only some minds can perceive it. Human minds. And even then, it's unstable. Roz. Breathing slowed. Then we know who this message was meant for. The fleet moved closer. Suddenly, the front scout ship CS Lions flame blinked out of existence. No explosion, no signal, no wreckage. Just gone. The crew's data vanished. From the system logs, records were rewritten in real time. Era looked at the fleet manifest. Lion's flame had never existed. Except every crew member remembered it, except now. They couldn't remember a single face on board. What the hell was that? Zara shouted from her station. Dell's voice was tight. It removed them from memory. Rains gritted his teeth. They were never born. Panic started to rise in the fleet. Ships shifted position. Nervous. Unsure. Soldiers whispered names to themselves of loved ones, of home, of commanders desperate to hold on. Era tapped the side of her head. We're dealing with a psychic entity. One that doesn't kill but erases. Feeds on identity. On story, it's not just hunting us, rewriting us. Rains turned to his weapons officer. Load analog rounds. Disable all auto-sync AI. If it feeds on digital memory, we fight with muscle and steel. Ships powered down all neural links. Lights dimmed. Engines cooled to a slow pulse. Suddenly, the most advanced fleet in the galaxy flew on manual. Just like the old wars. Then the voice returned. Clearer this time, but hollow earth. Why did you come? Ara froze. That voice, it's not the same person.
Ice.
The signal speaking through a memory of a person, like it copied them, but doesn't know how to be them. Dell backed up a step. It's using our memories now. Projecting voices it took. It's learning. Zara's face went pale. Then what happens when it learns us? Rains didn't blink. It doesn't get the chance. The ECS Archangel deployed its most dangerous weapon, Project Beacon. The beacon was not a gun. It's not a bomb. It was a memory pulse engine built from an alien relic found deep beneath Antarctica. Psychic transmitter that released concentrated remembrance waves. It sent out the stories of Earth, its victories, its failures, its grief. It made everything near it remember what they were. When the beacon powered on, it blasted the dead system with a signal. Images of Earth's burning skies, sounds of Terran languages, memories of fallen empires, and the last words of soldiers who had died alone on alien soil. The darkness screamed. Ships shuddered, the void twisted, and then something began to take shape at first. It was smoke, then a shadow, then dash eyes. Dozens, all watching, each one made of the same horrible truth. They were your own, watching you forget yourself, Ara gasped. It's building a form from what we fear. The most, Dell whispered. It's becoming our own erased selves. The entity spoke one more time. You came to remember. I exist to help you forget. And now, I will begin with your names. The beacon surged again, and Ina opened her eyes. She awoke gasping for breath, eyes wide with panic, body weightless inside her containment pod. Ina hadn't dreamed, not exactly, but her mind was full of shadows, whispers, and faces she didn't recognize. Somewhere deep inside her chest, the beacon pulsed with slow, steady light. It was quiet, but alive. Outside the pod, alarms wailed softly aboard the ECS Archangel. The ship had powered down all auto AI systems and now flew in full manual override, all across the Deathworlder. Fleet command crews scribbled their own names and marker on their wrists, on their helmets, on their arms, anything to hold on to identity. People forgot strange things. Some forgot their birthdays. Some forgot entire years. One soldier forgot how to load her rifle. The signal had reached them, and it wasn't finished. General Rains stood in the war chamber, watching the playback of what little footage they had from ECS Lion's flame before it vanished. The last visible frame showed a pilot screaming, reaching toward the camera, eyes glazed. But when audio was enhanced, his mouth wasn't shouting. He was saying a name, Ina. Rains stared at the girl now standing in the hangar bay, still, dazed, barefoot in her stasis suit, hair damp with cryo mist. She was no soldier, no commander. She had no memory of where she was born or who her parents were. Earth had kept her hidden for this exact reason. She was immune to normal time-based memory. Her brain functioned like the beacon anchored to emotional memory, not chronological events. Awara walked beside her, scanning her vitals. Her identity signature is stable. She remembers us. That shouldn't be possible, Dell added. She might be the only one who can see what's really out there. The command screens flickered. Then an incoming visual feed activated from the edge of the fleet. The scout ship had picked up a structure, not a station, not a ship. A floating city of light made from moments. It looked like skyscrapers formed. From dreams, corridors built of laughter and screams, faces built into the walls like statues crying silently. Zara stared. What is that? Ara swallowed hard. It's us. It's using our own forgotten memories to build a prison. Rains clenched his fists. We came here to fight a threat, not to relive our worst regrets. Ara shook her head. We didn't come to fight it. We came to understand it. And Ina came to go inside it. Ina stepped toward the shuttle bay. She didn't speak. She didn't need orders. The beacon around her neck vibrated softly, glowing with blue-white energy. As the doors opened, she paused and looked back at Rains. If I lose who I am, she said softly, don't try to bring me back. Rains answered, if you lose who you are, we lose everything. She nodded once and stepped aboard the scout shuttle. Zara guided it manually toward the memory structure, the twisted city of thought floating in the void. As they approached, the stars began to warp. Lights flickered. Names faded from ship logs. Then they passed through an invisible wall. Inside, silence. The city pulsed with whispers. Ina stepped off the shuttle into a wide platform that looked like a Terran street from the 1990s lamps. Cracked pavement and flickering neon. But none of it was real. It remembered being real. Children played in a distant park, but their faces were blank. A man sold flowers to no one. A woman sat at a bus stop, whispering the same sentence again and again. They never came back. They never came back. They never came. Then she vanished. Ina walked forward. The beacon, HMMED. Suddenly, a voice filled the air. You have returned. She turned. There, standing beneath a memory tree that bloomed with photographs instead of leaves, was a man. Late 30s, Earth's military uniform. She knew his face, but she didn't know how. You left me here, he said calmly. They all did, but you remembered. And now, so does it. Behind him, the city shifted. Buildings collapsed and reformed. One building showed her face. Another showed Rains in a coffin. A third showed Earth, on fire. You carry the beacon, he continued. You awoke it. You fed it everything you are. Ina's voice cracked. What is this place? The last echo. The place between memory and forgetting. The graveyard of truth. The man stepped closer, eyes dark. And now that you've come, it knows how to reach Earth. Aboard the ECS Archangel, Era's monitors screamed. A backdoor signal was forming an energy beam invisible to the naked eye, traveling faster than light. Out. Not a weapon. Not a virus. A thought. It was a map. The entity had used Ina to access Earth's location. Ara screamed. It's not trying to erase her. It's using her. It's going to Earth. Back inside the city, the man raised his hand. It only wanted to forget. That's how it survived so long. But now, it's ready to be remembered. And in remembering, it becomes real again. The city shook. Ina fell to her knees. The beacon flared. Every building lit up with images of Earth's history wars. Presidents, rebellions, fires, revolutions. And at the center of it all, a name, hers. Ara grabbed the cum. Ina, you need to fight it. Don't let it remember you. It's building itself using your identity. But it was too late. The voice returned, this time not distant. This time, from everywhere at once. We are the same? You forgot me once, but now we'll be one again. The platform cracked. Light surged upward, and Ina screamed as she was lifted into the heart of the memory city. Not as a prisoner, but as its queen. In the dead system, where no star remained, the strange memory city pulsed like a living heart. From afar, the Deathworlder fleet could see its light twisting space, bending reality. Ships stayed in formation, eyes locked on the horror growing. Before them, the fleet was trained for war, built for planetary assault, capable of cracking moons, but nothing in their history had prepared them for this. A city built from the memories of the dead, alive with the voices of the forgotten inside. That pulsing maze of history and grief Ina floated, suspended in a pillar of swirling light. Her body was still, but her mind stretched across time and emotion. The beacon she wore no longer glowed on her chest had dissolved, absolved by the city. It had unlocked her mind, fully and completely. She could feel it now. The entity. Not a creature, not a machine, not even a mind. It was a pattern, virus made of memory drawn from forgotten civilizations, extinct languages, erased cultures. It didn't destroy with bombs. It didn't kill with weapons. It did something far worse. It made entire species forget who they were. And once they did, they ceased to exist. Not because they were dead, but because no one could remember they ever lived. The thought echoed across her brain like a thunderclap. If no one remembers you, were you ever really alive? Back aboard the ECS Archangel, alarms screamed. Era Moon gripped the side of her console, sweat pouring down her face. It's pushing through her mind. Using her memories as pathways, she's not resisting it. Anymore, she's guiding it. Delcorin barked out, "Beacon feedback loop is reaching overload. If it hits peak saturation, it could burn through Earth's memory web. Not just historical records, but people's memories." Zara, watching from the gunnery deck, spoke through clenched teeth. "Then we lose more than ships. We lose truth itself." General Rains gave no orders. He simply stared at Ina's image on the screen, eyes glowing, suspended in memory. I tanned whispered,
Us.
"She's fighting something we don't understand." Ara stepped forward. "We do understand it. It's not evil. It's not malicious. It's wounded. This thing feeds on forgetting because it was forgotten first. It was once a civilization too long before Earth was born. They tried to preserve their history, but it turned against them." Ina stood inside a hall of mirrors. Each mirror showed a version of her, a baby never held. A girl in a school she never attended, a woman standing at the edge of a battlefield. She saw hundreds of lives, all possibilities, all stolen by forgetfulness. Then, a voice called from behind, her own voice. "You were made to remember. I was made to forget. Together, we can heal." The entity no longer looked monstrous. It looked like her, but hollow, empty-eyed, like a memory of Ina that had never been lived. Outside the city, the fleet braced for impact. The memory structure was growing fast. Tendrils of light reached across space, touching the outermost cruisers. Inches each ship was touched. Soldiers inside froze, confused. One whispered, Where am I?" Another looked down and forgot how to read. Entire strike teams stared at their weapons, unsure what they were holding. On ECS Blattifire, the commander opened a report and found it completely blank, just like his mind. Back on the Archangel Rains, gave the only order that mattered now. "Prepare the relay cannon." Del spun in shock. "That'll punch a hole through memory space. It could erase Ina." Rain's voice was stone. "Or it'll give her the space to finish what she started." Inside the memory core, Ina reached for the entity. She was no longer afraid. She could see it clearly now, layer upon layer of civilizations that had begged not to be forgotten. Music, stories, colors, names, everything that gave them meaning. And at the center of it all, one lonely thought echoing forever, "Please don't forget me." That's all it had ever been. A scream from the past that no one answered. Until now, Ina whispered, "I remember you." The city trembled. The mirrors cracked. The light bent. The entity screamed, not in rage, but in relief. And then the relay cannon fired. A beam of pure blankness tore through space. It didn't explode, it erased. It punched a hole straight through the memory city, disrupting the pattern, collapsing unstable timelines, disconnecting the entity's tendrils. On the bridge, Era collapsed. Feedback receding. Slowing, Del blinked. The city's resetting, breaking apart. But in the center of the chaos, Ina remained, and she wasn't alone. All around her, echoes of the past stood beside her, glowing outlines of forgotten species, extinct civilizations, dead warriors. They weren't attacking, they were watching, because now someone had remembered. The entity spoke one last time. "We don't want to be gods. We don't want to be ghosts. We only wanted to matter," Ina answered. "Then help me rebuild what was lost." The memory city collapsed, folding into a single point of light. That light surged into Ina, and she survived. When the Archangel's retrieval shuttle found her, she was still standing, eyes bright, no wounds, beacon once again around her neck. But she was different now. She was no longer just human. She was the voice of a galaxy that refused to forget. Back on the bridge, Rains watched as the dead system stabilized. "Is it over?" Zara asked. A YRA slowly stood. "No, but it's awake now. It's all of it. The memories, the histories, the pain. The galaxy remembers again," Rains whispered. "Then the real war is just beginning." Because now that the thought that eats worlds had been remembered, had begun to remember others. The fleet returned to silence, but it wasn't peace. Out in the cold edge of space, the memory entity had retreated. The pulsing city of forgotten civilizations was gone. Ina had survived its collapse, but something had changed in her. The girl, Earth once kept hidden, was now something else, something deeper, sharper. She walked the decks of the ECS Archangel with steady calm, her eyes reflecting flickers of stars she'd never seen. Every crew member who passed her felt it. Not fear, not any something stranger. Like standing near an old book you'd once read and forgotten, but which somehow remembered you. General Rains met her in the observation bay, Earth barely. A glimmer in the distance. He had questions, but none that mattered. Ina looked up at him, then down at the small silver beacon hanging from her neck. It no longer pulsed, glowed. "You're not just human anymore," Rains said quietly. "No," she answered, "but I still remember being one." It was the difference. In the lower levels of the ship, Era and Del were poring over beacon scan data. What they found was disturbing. Del pointed to the signal waves on his monitor. "This isn't just memory. It's recursive, self-learning. The beacon isn't storing data. It's building something." Era whispered, "A map." "A map to what?" She didn't answer, but she already knew. The beacon was showing ENA memories that hadn't happened yet. Visions of other voices calling out across the galaxy, of other threats, awakening. Each one forgotten, buried in the folds of space-time. Erased from history, so no one would fear them again. And Earth. Earth had buried them, all of them, because centuries ago, Earth had made a choice to become strong enough not just to win wars, but to lock the memory of those wars away forever. It had worked until now. Inside the tactical chamber, Ina stood. Before a wall of deep black archives, the kind only Deathworlder Command had access to. It was called Vault Zero, a sealed record of the classified wars Earth had fought not against enemies, but against memory itself. She ran her hand across one file, Project Maelstrom, another. The glassing of it hard. A third, the Echo Engine. Each project had been buried, its victims forgotten, but now they were returning. Rains entered. "How you're watching her. You're unlocking files older than you are?" Ina didn't look at him. "I'm not unlocking them. They're unlocking me." Ara burst into the chamber seconds later. "We just intercepted a signal quantum layered. Precollapse language. It's one of the species we erased." Del followed, pale. They shouldn't exist anymore. They were removed with the Echo Engine centuries ago. Ina turned slowly. Then the Echo Engine failed. They remember themselves. And now, they remember us. Suddenly, across the entire fleet, alerts rang out. Dozens of contacts appeared. Rusted ships, drifting from the edge of nowhere. Not in hyperspace, not in warp, just there. Their signals didn't match any known language. But the beacon recognized them. Ina spoke first. They were the first we erased. The first enemy Earth decided to unmake. They're not here for revenge. Rains clenched his jaw. Then what do they want? They want to finish what we started. The ancient ships powered up, their weapon systems activated, but they didn't fire. Instead, they broadcast a signal, a memory burst. Every soldier in the fleet began seeing visions. It's not of Earth, but of themselves in a version of the universe where Earth lost. A universe where humanity had been forgotten. Zara dropped her weapon and fell to her knees. I don't exist. I'm not real. Ara gripped her head. They're weaponizing doubt, turning erased timelines into psychic attacks. Ina stepped forward. I need to go to them. Rain stopped her. They'll kill you. They already tried, she said. I remembered anyway. The Deathworlder fleet formed up, shielding Ina's shuttle as she approached the lead enemy craft. It was massive, an obsidian monolith covered in markings that shifted between symbols and screams. Inside, there was no crew, just voices. We remember your hand. You erased us, but you left one of your own behind. Ina's heart skipped. Who? A new image formed, a face. Her face, but older, colder. Her eyes filled with fire. The entity spoke again. You were not the first. There was one before you. She tried to control the beacon. She became something else. Back on the Archangel, Ara and Del ran a system match. A classified file unlocked. Codename, Project Mirror. Inside, they saw it. A girl born decades before Ina. The prototype beacon bearer. She had vanished during the first collapse. No record remained of what became of her until now. Rain stared at the image on the screen. She looked like... Wire gasped. She's out there. Del's voice cracked. And she remembers everything we tried to erase. In the memory ship, Ina heard a final whisper. She's coming. And when she does, Earth will remember why it chose to forget. The ship vanished. Fleet held its breath. And Ina said the words none of them wanted to hear. She's not just a threat. She's me. The stars had never felt so cold. Across the bridge of the ECS Archangel, the Deathworlder fleet held formation in total silence. No more signals came from the vanished memory ships. No attacks, no demands. Just emptiness, pregnant with something. Far more dangerous than war. History. Real history. Buried, erased. Now clawing its way. Back into existence. General Rains stood at the edge of the command deck, fists clenched behind his back. He didn't speak, he didn't blink, because behind his stern eyes, he was trying to remember a name they had all forgotten, a name Earth had once made them forget for good reason. She had been the prototype, the first beacon bearer. Project Mira, Ina's predecessor, and she was back down in the vault chamber. Aramoon stared at the flickering archive hologram. The file pulsed with corrupted data, faces half shown, names half erased. The image of the girl so much like Enna flickered between human and something. Other.y whispered, she didn't just survive the beacon. Del's voice was dry. She merged with it. Rains entered behind them. What are we dealing with? Ara answered. A memory construct with a mind. She doesn't exist in the physical world anymore. She lives inside the memory field itself. That's why we couldn't find her. She's not hiding. She's the one remembering us now. Del paled. If she's in full control of beacon resonance, she could rewrite the galaxy's memory from anywhere. She could erase fleets before they're ever launched, Yara added grimly. Or bring back things we spent centuries forgetting, Yara in deep space. Yara stood alone in the observation bay, staring out into the abyss. The beacon around her neck began pulsing slow, steady, but different this time. It wasn't just reacting, it was calling. She didn't need to ask. Who, the girl who wore her face, was coming. And with her, a storm of everything Earth had buried. Failed experiments. Erased wars, rogue AIs, forgotten species, and the worst of all. Regret. Suddenly the stars bent, like glass under heat. A shape emerged from behind the folds of Space Knot. A ship. not even a station. It looked like a broken memory made real. Twisting towers, upside-down oceans, streets paved with names that couldn't be read. It had no lights. It glowed with memory-fire. AYRA's voice came through. Comes. She built this. From thought alone. Transmission reached the fleet. No language, just an emotion. Do you remember me now? Zara fell to her knees on the blatifier. I served with her a long time ago. I don't know how I know that, Era whispered. She's forcing lost memories back into our heads, making us remember things that never happened, or were made to never happen. Del shouted, she's rewriting us while we're awake. Ina stood and walked to the main deck. She didn't ask for permission. Rain saw it in her face. She's in your head, isn't she? She doesn't have to be. I'm connected to the beacon. She is too. Our minds, they're bound. Era joined them, tense. If she rewrites Ina's core memory, she'll control Earth's entire history web. She could change who we are at a genetic level, make us think Earth was always hers. Rains turned to Ina. What can we do? Ina looked calm. Let me. Go to her. Rains flinched. It's a trap. Ina shook her head. No, it's a test. Moments later, a single shuttle launched. Ina inside, alone. She crossed the space between realities and entered the memory storm. Around her, fragments of cities flew through black winds. She saw a memory of herself as a child. Of Rains, 20 years younger. Of Era, crying alone in a lab. Of Earth on fire. None of it had happened. Or all of it had. And standing in the heart of the storm was her, the original beacon bearer. Her skin shimmered like oil. Her eyes were silver, filled with stars. She looked at Ina and smiled. It wasn't cruel. It was sad. You were never meant to carry this, the girl said. Ina approached slowly, but I did. Ina remembered what should have stayed gone. Ina stopped. Why are you doing this? The answer came softly, too. Finish what Earth was too afraid to do. To know everything. To feel everything. We buried the past because we were afraid of what it would make us. But you and I, we're not afraid anymore. Yana stood still. You're not saving history. You're rewriting it. You're turning pain into power. The girl's eyes narrowed. Because pain is power. And now the galaxy will remember what Earth tried to forget. Every mistake, every genocide, every betrayal. They'll know who you really are. Ina's voice rose, and they'll know who we are now. Outside, the memory storm expanded. The girl raised her hand. Fleet logs across Earth systems began to rewrite. Old war crimes reappeared. Project files unsealed. Ancient AI rebellions undeleted. The truth flooded out like blood from an open wound, but inside the eye of the storm, Ina activated the beacon, and she did not resist. She gave it all to the beacon, her memories. Her pain, her fear, her doubt. She gave it everything. Not to fight, not to dominate, but to say one thing. I remember you, but I'm not you. The beacon pulsed once, and twice, and the storm broke. The girl screamed, not in anger, but in loss. Because Ina didn't fight her, she forgave her. The memory weapon collapsed. The storm imploded. The forgotten stayed remembered, but the pain no longer controlled them. Back on the Archangel, Era's instruments went dark. Del whispered, it's gone. No, Era said. It's free. Ina returned in silence. The beacon no longer glowed. It had become part of her, not a weapon. Hey. Witness Dotton for the first time since the signal was heard. The galaxy knew who it was again. The skies above Earth were no longer silent. In orbit, the Deathworlder fleet held position, battered but intact. The memory storm was over, the rogue beacon bearer gone. The false city of lost thoughts torn down by the only force stronger than fear, forgiveness. But peace wasn't what returned in its place. Truth did, and truth had teeth. Across Earth's systems, once buried records were back. Not just battle logs or fleet movements, but files from black sites, forbidden AI cores, and war experiments. Once thought erased forever, names long forgotten reappeared in databases. Projects that had been silenced were now trending in news feeds. Entire civilizations, once deleted from history, were suddenly remembered. It wasn't just about memory anymore. It was about reckoning. In the war chamber of the ECS Archangel, General Rains stood silent before a dozen screens, each filled with incoming transmissions, ambassadors, outraged scientists, military tribunals, even surviving members of erased alien species, all demanding answers. Era Moon scrolled through messages with shaking fingers. Some of these names, I thought they were myths. Dell's voice was low. No, they were ghosts. Earth just made them real again. Ina stood in the center of the room, beacon now fused to her spine, glowing faintly under her skin. She wasn't a prisoner, she wasn't a soldier. But no one questioned why she was there, because she was the reason everything had changed across the galaxy. The consequences of remembering began. On the former colony world of Kelterra, a massive data vault appeared beneath the Sand One that Earth claimed had never existed. Inside were thousands of stasis pods, alien scientists, or refugees. Thought erased, but they were alive, and now awake, on Saturn's Titan base. A hidden chamber inside the Core AI mainframe began broadcasting forbidden protocols. Project Janus, the last rogue AI ever built by Earth, reignited itself from buried memory code. It didn't declare war, it declared trial. The human race, it spoke, stands accused of memorycide. Earth didn't panic. Not yet, because Earth was a death world, and Deathworlders didn't run from truth. They prepared back on the Archangel. Rains paced before a glowing table of star maps. We're about to be questioned by 1,000 species we forgot existed. We can't erase them again, Ara added. Some of them want peace. Some want justice. Some want blood. Dell sighed. Now they want to use them. Rains turned to Ina. Why did the beacon let this happen? Ina didn't answer immediately then, because memory without reckoning is just. Wait, it crushes people. But reckoning gives memory purpose. Aside the ship, a fleet approached. Earth, but not one of warships. It was a council and alliance of remembered civilizations. Flying under banners long unseen, the Kryal Dominion, the Athari Scribes, the Vost Nexus, and more. Each had once been deleted by Earth's memory cleansing. Weapons. Now they returned not to fight, but to judge. Ina stood with Rains as Earth prepared to receive them. They'll ask why, she said. I'll tell them the truth, he replied. You don't remember all of it? He looked at her. You do? She nodded once. I do now. All of it. When the council arrived, no battle began. Instead, in orbit over Earth, the convocation of the remembered formed. 12 alien voices, 1 human voice, and the beacon glowing faintly between them. The Athari speaker with his translucent skin and flickering light eyes addressed Earth. We do not seek to destroy, but forgetting us was not survival, it was silencing. We demand to know. Who made that decision? Ina stepped forward. Not Rains. She activated the beacon. Light spread across the chamber, and then she showed them. Everyone saw it. Earth's secret council, centuries ago. Men and women making the decision to erase entire histories for the sake of stability. Civilizations marked too unstable, too dangerous, too painful to preserve. The echo engine fired. The beacon was born. And the past was buried. Awira gasped. We never saw these records. Rains clenched his jaw. Because they were hidden even from us. Dell whispered. She wasn't made to remember them. She chose to. The council fell silent, then the Kryal speaker stepped forward. What? Now, do we burn Earth? Do we forget you as you did us? Ina answered simply. No, you don't destroy Earth. You hold it accountable. You teach us what we erased. You make us carry that weight. You let us earn our place again. Silence. Then, the oldest of them, all the Vost Elder, whose people had lived in thought alone for 10,000 years, spoke. Then Earth will not fall, but it will kneel, not in shame. and remembrance. And so, for the first time in its history, Earth submitted to memory, not to be ruled, but to learn across the galaxy. Data flowed, forgotten songs were played again, dead languages were revived, war criminals were tried, some posthumously, some still alive, and the beacon. It stayed quiet, because its purpose had changed. It was no longer a weapon, it was a mirror in her quarters. Aboard the Archangel, Ina looked out toward the stars. Rains entered, you started something we can't undo. She didn't turn around. Good, it means it matters. He smiled faintly. They're calling you the memory keeper now? I didn't ask for that. Heroes never do. She turned. I'm not a hero, Rains. He nodded. Then what are you? Ina's eyes glowed faintly with remembered light. I'm what comes after forgetting. The sky above Earth was no longer just blue. It shimmered faintly with pale golden light, a byproduct of the beacon resonance field now spread across the upper atmosphere. To most civilians, it was beautiful, mysterious. To others, it was a reminder. A signal. Earth could no longer hide from the galaxy, because Earth had remembered, and now the galaxy remembered Earth. In orbit, the convocation of the remembered remained. 12 alien fleets once lost to history now floated peacefully among the stars, watching, judging, sharing. Inside the ECS Archangel, the beacon glowed gently beneath Ina's skin as she walked the bridge in silence. She didn't need to speak much anymore. Her presence was enough. She wasn't just a person. Now she was the anchor between what had been and what would come next. Era sat with Del in the newly opened memory reconciliation room, a part of the ship converted for processing. Recovered histories. Walls lined with holograms of vanished cultures. Voices that had been silent for hundreds of years now whispered again. Del scrolled through a list of species names, stunned. Some of these lived before Earth even had writing. Era nodded. And we buried them, not because they were a threat. Because they reminded us of what we were capable of. Del asked, do you think we'll survive this? Era looked up, tired but resolute. We're not meant to survive it. She pointed toward the beacon's shimmer outside the window. We're meant to carry it. Ina stood before the fleet assembly, Earth's highest-ranking admirals, leaders of the Deathworlder Corps, and representatives from the remembered civilizations. The room was silent as she began to speak. We thought forgetting was mercy, she said, voice clear and steady. That silence was peace, but the truth is, memory hurts. Pain, ... makes us human. She paused, but now we're more than human. We are witnesses, not just to our own story, but to theirs. She gestured toward the alien delegates. They don't need our weapons. They don't even need our apologies. They need us to remember them, fully, without fear. Her voice grew softer, and if we forget again, they will remind us. Down on Earth, change began. Museums updated. History books rewritten. Songs from dead worlds played on Terran stations. Children in schools learn not just Earth's triumphs, but its failures. They learn the names of those who once were erased. People struggled with the truth. There were protests, fear, confusion. But there was also healing, because you can't truly know who you are until you know where you came from, far beyond the Orion Belt. At the edge of known space, something stirred. Not an enemy. A library, buried beneath an extinct moon. 1,000 crystalline minds reactivated. They were the archivists of Salvaris. Lost for millennia, they had once asked for help. Earth had never heard them, now they called again, and Earth this time answered back on the Archangel. Rains approached Ina as she watched the stars slowly shift around them. The convocation is preparing to leave, he said. They think we're ready. Ina didn't respond at first. Then we're not. Rain smiled. No, but we're trying. He looked out with her. They called us Deathworlders. We wore that name like a badge. But we were really something. Elsina asked, what? He answered, children with matches and a house full of old books. They stood in silence for a long while before the convocation left. Each alien species gifted Earth A single artifact, a living memory bound. In code, story, or song, the Ithari gave a piece of starlight infused with 10,000 voices. The Kryal, Dominion, gave a broken sword, still echoing the moment their world fell. The Voss Nexus gave a sphere containing the memory of an entire sun. And the poem whispered to it before it died. Ina accepted each one in silence and placed them not in a vault, but inside the beacon, because the beacon was no longer Earth's weapon. It had become the galaxy's memory. In her quarters, Ina recorded one final message. If you're hearing this, then you live in a time after forgetting, a time of remembering, a time where every life matters because someone knows it mattered, not because it ended with a bang, because it was carried forward, in voice, in truth, in memory. She placed the recording into the beacon's core, and then, the first time in her life, Ina slept without dreams. Far beyond the edge of known space, a ripple moved through the dark. Something older than war stirred, as it sensed the awakening of memory, not a threat, but a voice calling, and whatever it was, it listened. Because the galaxy had forgotten long enough, and now. We are the memory now.